Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. You have Paula and myself. And if you're watching on YouTube, we have a guest that had a real impact on my life. He was actually a coach of mine for a couple years, and he's helped me through some of the most dark periods of my life. I shared a reel a few times on social media where I'm actually bawling my eyes out, and you can feel the pain just from looking at the screen. And that was actually from one of my sessions with John. So we digged really deep and we did so much hard work, and I actually give some of the credit to the person that I am today because of the work that you and I did. You changed my life. You were also with me through the uncertainty and the fear from being pregnant for the second time after a miscarriage. So that was also a big moment for me. You a Guinness World Record holder. You're a bodybuilding champion. You've trained celebrities. You've trained Olympian athletes. You have spoken alongside Tony Robbins, John Templeton. It's an honor to have you back on the show for a second time.
Renee, thank you so much, and Paula as well. Thank you for both having me here. I, when you were saying that, obviously we've got a lot of memories, a lot of fond memories together going through those times, and I just want to give you credit because it's not easy to face the parts of yourself that maybe are still insecure, the parts of yourself that are just
Mm.
petrified. So credit to you as well is absolutely due.
Thank you so much. You're to my audience, if it's the first time hearing of you, you're actually in Australia. You're still there, right? Yeah.
Yes, I've spent the last 18 months in New Zealand, but just moved back to Australia.
Okay, cool. So I was just saying before this episode, like there's so many questions that I have for you because you and I didn't speak for like the last couple of years. You were kind of hiding but working on a lot of stuff. And I want to dig into that. But also, I want to congratulate you because you also got married in the last couple of years. Um,
Nice.
yeah, so that's really exciting. But tell me more. So, you just wrote a second book.
Yeah, yeah. The first book I'm going to put in the category of figuring out what writing a book feels like. This, I want to say, is my first real attempt at producing a piece of work for people that is going to impact their lives the same way I've impacted your life in the past. So that's what the
Mm,
last really 3 years has been, but that's why I was in New Zealand for 18 months as well, was the environment, the solitude needed to really dive into that. I live on the Gold Coast now. It's beautiful here, but there's a lot of distractions, and I
mm,
just wanted to go into hermit mode and have that baseline stability to write. So yeah, the last 3 years have been, I think you said I've been hiding maybe. Let's use that
mhm,
word. It works. It works. Yeah, I'd reached my limit of growth in my life, and
mm,
I hit my own personal challenges, which I'd never experienced before, and I had paid for a lot of mentorships, and they couldn't help me get through this barrier. So I felt like it was something I had to do essentially alone, and that
mm,
was dark. That was scary. It really pushed me to my limitations. I was depressed for a number of years really, and but that was the beauty of it. It pushed me into an area I'd never been. I got to explore different parts of myself, and that's what drove me to research and write the book I've written, which is called Authentically: The Art and Science of
mm.
Being Your True Self. So it was a 3 year deep dive into what it means to be authentic, and getting outside of the paradigm I'd grown up in and learned through the coaching world to look at the world through different perspectives: spiritual lens, psychological lens, even like a philosophical lens, and
Mm.
then take all of that information and put it into the most condensed book I could. So that's what the book is about. It's going, all right, so many people see the world in so many different ways. That's what led to a bit of my existential crisis. I couldn't figure out what was like the true way to live, what was a way to
Mm.
find individual fulfillment, because every choice we make in life comes with consequences. And some of the consequences that I was experiencing, I wasn't happy with. Um, and so I wanted to explore different psychologies, different perspectives to see if there is a pathway forward where we can really be fulfilled in what we're doing and be
Mm,
inspired and contribute in a bigger way. And that's what the book is. It's what does that path look like? Not for me, but for anyone. If I want to walk the path of inspiration and meaning and purpose, how do I do it? What do I do?
I
oh
have
my God.
so many questions from you just saying all of that.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, Renee, I think you have some questions as well. Can I just ask? I have two that just come to mind. So you talk about that path that anyone of us can go on. How do you know? How would somebody know when they are on that path or when they're off that path? Like, how did you know when you were on it?
Mm,
You won't know intellectually. It is a feeling. So that's the first thing. One of the quotes from my book is, you can't think your way to authenticity. It
mhm,
is a feeling of resonance that you get. And I talk about in the book the five golden virtues. So there are five virtues which you display when you're being authentic, which is you're present, you're authentic, you're enthused, you're grounded, and you're graceful. So there's no hesitation, there's no procrastination. There is a feeling of certainty, there's a groundedness. You can hear it in someone's voice when they're on their path, when they're speaking from the heart, you could say. So that's the first thing. There is feeling of resonance. The other thing I'll say is it occurs when your mind isn't thinking, when your mind is in the future going, I'm worried about this, or
mm,
as soon as you've lost the present moment, you're off of your, I call it the love line, like you're off of your path. So it's
Mhm.
about feeling that resonance. And the one thing, well, I say the one thing, the primary thing that will pull you away is fear, without question, but
Um,
also self doubt. So they're the two
mm,
poles when you doubt yourself and then you're fearful. And self doubt can come through comparisons, it can come through looking at other people and feeling inferior or insecure compared to them. But you know you're on your path when you're most enthusiastic, when you're most alive.
mm.
I
That
love that.
is so good. I feel like
So
we're talking so much about that lately because I'm kind of on that journey, which I need your book clearly,
good.
where I'm like constantly on overdrive. Like even if I'm living a beautiful moment with my family, my brain is like somewhere else. I'm like, what do I need to do? Like, what should I do next? Like, and it's really robbing me of my joy because I'm never really truly present in the moment. So that's such powerful work.
But
Mhm.
here's a question for you. Where is your mind? Say you're with your family, where is your mind? My guess is it's going to potentially be business related, but you tell me.
Yeah, yeah. I'm like, should I be doing something right now? Like, should I be posting about this? Should I? It's always like, what's on my to-do list? Like, oh, did I forget to message that person? Like, it's like it's almost like I want it to work so much that I'm like almost like pushing it away because I'm not
Mhm.
being like fully present. I'm not being like fully authentic in a sense. Like, yeah, hmm,
Yeah.
powerful.
I'll add to that. There's probably two things. One, obviously if your mind is elsewhere, that yeah, you're off, you're out of the present moment. So your magic
Yeah.
is never going to be there, right? So it's and
Mm,
we all do it. I am
Mhm.
mhm,
absolutely critical of it. And the book is literally the tools for bringing yourself back to yourself. So I won't
mm,
go into too much detail, but there are eight perceptions that steal or rob us of our authenticity. You could say there are eight thoughts that steal or rob us of our authenticity. And the book goes into, well, how do we overcome those eight thoughts? And I give three different tools for overcoming those eight specific perceptions so that we can stay as present as possible. And then, yeah, when you're in that sweet spot, when you're in the authentic state, you'll be your most creative, you'll be your most inspired, you'll be all of your answers to your problems will be solved when you bring
mm,
your energy back to yourself. But the
Mm.
second thing I want to say is, and this might bring a conflict up in you, but the reason I asked about before, where is your mind going? Is it
mhm,
business related? Um, Everybody has a value system. We have a way we prioritize our life. And we cannot experience those five golden virtues, that sweet spot, if we're doing something that we don't truly want to be doing. So if it depends on you specifically, if you said, I really should be present with my family now, like that word should is a sign of inauthenticity, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
not authentic. You're like, oh, I should be present now. The truth is, your soul is saying, no, you want to be doing business, for example. Some people is the opposite. They're like, oh, I really should be on social media. But truth is, I just want to be with my family.
Yeah.
And so, and it can change. So it's moment to moment dependency. If we're saying I really should be doing this, our heart and soul is not in it in that moment. And so that would be forcing. You'd be forcing it then. Whereas if you in that moment, like what would inspire me right now? And maybe right now the most inspiring thing to do is do the dishes, go and vacuum the carpet, right? But then there are days where you're like, oh, I really should vacuum.
Mm.
But that's not where your heart and soul is. So you need to, this is what presence does. Presence allows us to discern whether right now is the time to vacuum or right now is the time to work. But we can only have the true answer if we're present because it changes. It changes. And there is a greater force at play as well that we need to align ourselves with. And if we are out of alignment with that greater force, we're going to be skedaddled. We're going to be out of alignment. And so the most important thing is get into a state that is grounded, present, enthused, and operate from there. And the answers will just come to you.
That's so good. I have a question, but Paula, did you have a second one?
I do, but okay. So just you are so inspiring. Just listen to him. Like everything you say is like this like golden nugget that I'm like, this is so good. But I read your bio, and so I understand that this isn't always how you thought about things. Certainly not how you always felt. So I read that you had gone through, and you said it earlier, you've gone through like some really dark times, some depression, things like that. So I'm just curious, like we have some people who are starting out in their careers, who are starting out their families, and how do they know? How can somebody tell when they are kind of layering that armor of what they think success should look like, what it should be, and how can they like spot that really quickly of I'm not in alignment or I'm going off track? Like what are the telltale signs of this isn't the right path for me?
Yep. I'll sort of go back to what I said at the start. Have you ever heard of the saying, know thyself?
Yes.
It's pretty much I would say that's the key to life. Know thyself. And that go all the way back to the Temple of Apollo in Greek times. That was the writing on top of the Temple of Apollo. And people would come to see the Oracle of Delphi in the Temple of Apollo. And she would get high on sulfur coming out of the ground and spout some kind of jigsaw puzzle riddle. And the person talking to her would have to try and make sense of it. But what was really happening was she tapped into some quantum field and giving them everything they needed to know? Probably not. She was just giving them a riddle which caused them to go inwards and go, fuck, what does that mean? She's given me this riddle. But really, what it forced them to do is explore themselves because that's all of us are really trying to do. We're trying to figure out who we are. I believe that's the highest purpose of life, trying to figure out who the hell we are and give our gifts. And I don't think we ever reach true, total authenticity because there'd be no growth left. We'd just be complete and then we may as well die. So for those people who are trying to figure out, it is about that feeling of alignment, and we've all tasted it at some point before. Another thing to look for is goosebumps. You'll get goosebumps when you are on the sweet spot, or there is something in your environment reminding you of your sweet spot. So if you listen to a bit of music or you see a performer, for me, sometimes if I watch a football match, because when I was a kid, my identity was football, and so when I was aligned with my identity, so now if I watch football, that brings up that feeling of alignment for me, and I just get goosebumps. And so in those moments where you get goosebumps, pay attention not to really what's happening, out there, but what's happening inside, because your body is saying something to you. It will be saying something along the lines of, there's meaning here, figure out what the meaning is and step in that direction. So goosebumps are a great sign for, are we in alignment? And I would say to anyone on the journey, because we're all on the journey, I'm still on the journey, I think of it like a sculpture, and we're the sculptor of the sculpture, which is, it starts, we don't really know ourselves. We grow up, we go to school and we get this education, and we're all sort of the same. We're all just sort of school kids. But then we move into the workforce, and by butting up against different personality types and having different experiences, we get to define who we are and who we are not. And through that process of defining and defining and defining, we become more and more and more authentic. And so for anyone who's in the midst of it, that's part of it. Don't feel bad. Everybody's gone through that. And even the people you think that might be just living the dream life now, I can guarantee you they still have friction. They still feel sad at times, disappointed, all of that stuff. So just keep following those threads, because the other thing is our soul knows. So when we meditate, when we go inwards, like the answer's there. Quite often we're just so absorbed in what's going on around us, putting out fires, dealing with life, that we don't really stop to listen to what's going on in here.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That's so true. And so when someone was looking at your life prior to doing all of that deep work, like, I just expressed like so many things about you. Like, you had like a really successful life from the outside looking in. Like, is there a part of you that's like, because we talked about this too on the last podcast, it's like, I think the path to like growing and becoming is when you're like, it's through struggles, I think. I've never, like, I feel like all of the times that I've really grown as a person was when I was going through like a difficult time. So is there a part of you that's like almost like anticipating that some like another like dark period is going to happen, or are you like confident that like you unlocked the key to like almost like bringing yourself back to what you should be doing, or what you
Oh, I mean, yeah.
I don't know if that question makes sense.
Oh, it makes complete sense. And so in the book, I talk about fear and excitement both being disempowering emotions. So fear is obviously disempowering, but excitement is also disempowering, because, you know, you said, am I anticipating a dark time coming? That would be foolish to live in that idea that darkness is coming, because then, gosh, what a horrible way to live.
Yeah.
And then you said, or are you just really confident that you've got to, I'm going to say neither. Neither. I'm going to accept that dark times will undoubtedly come, and I'm going to accept that good times will undoubtedly come. And I'm going to ride both of those waves on the way to whatever the future holds for me. And so the one thing that really changed my life was I figured out the mechanics for our psychology. It's all in the book. What I mean by that is there is mechanics that happen within our mind for us to be depressed, for example. There are mechanics that happen in our mind for us to be happy. And the book, I wouldn't say it's an inspiring story, but I would say it's truthful. And the truth sets you free. But what the book has done is given me, when I'm feeling shit, when I'm feeling depressed and down, like it captures me, right? It gets hold of me, and I feel held down by life. Within the book, I'll just flick back to the book because the answers are in there. And so the greatest thing is, yes, I have absolutely created the tools to overcome these things. It doesn't stop them from coming because they're part of life. Emotion is life.
Yeah.
You know, feeling ashamed, part of life. So, but what it does, it gives you perspective. And that's the most important thing, because when we change perspective, the problem is we're not caught in the problem. We can see it for what it is. And that has been the greatest gift. So am I confident about I've got all the answers? No. Am I confident that dark times are coming, or am I, shattered by it? Neither. I know they're coming. I do have the tools. It doesn't make it any easier though. It just gives you
Mm,
perspective when you need it.
Mm-hmm.
mm.
I love
That's
that.
really, really good. Yeah, same.
You've done so much. Sorry, Renee, did you have something,
No,
or can I?
no, go ahead.
We're just gonna like battle it out for the
I
questions.
know, it's fine. I have so many things.
um, you've done like a lot of studying, and so this is more, I think, just something I'm curious about because a lot of the readings and things like that that I've done in the personal development space and self development and whatever you want to call it, like something that really resonated with me, but I don't think is really talked about a lot. And I can absolutely understand why it's not, is the concept, the very real concept that we are all going to die, right? Like this is a very temporary experience that we all are living. And so I'm curious about that thought process, or if that's something that, is any kind of like guiding principle or something for you as you are going through this type of work and you're delivering this, that there's an element of we also just take ourselves so seriously, and we are on this ginormous rock in the middle of this universe that, like, our although we are, I believe, so significant and so impactful and meaningful and all those things, but we're also so incredibly insignificant as well, right? Like it's the, you know it's,
Paradox.
yeah, it's the paradox of it all. So I'm just curious about that, because that piece always is what is kind of a foundation for me in my, I think, truly my mental health. And sometimes it can almost go against me, but a lot of times it works for me. It kind of gives me that perspective to, not everything is about me and my problems are, not that significant. So I'm just curious about that on your end.
Yeah, such a great question. These kind of questions are what drove me into crisis because I didn't have answers and no one could give
Mhm.
me answers. And one of them was, what is the purpose of life? There are two questions I was asking that led me to write the book. Who am I and what is the purpose of life? Because if I couldn't comprehend the purpose of life, then I couldn't comprehend my purpose and I couldn't
Right.
function. So the first thing I'll say is being able to hold a paradox is a sign of wisdom. That is, and I talk again about this throughout the book. Unconditional love, which is the ultimate state to be in, is holding a paradox. Because this moment we say, well, I'm so insignificant, right? We
Mhm.
drop into a state of inferiority. But
Mhm.
there's part of that that's true. Like we are quite insignificant, really. And then as soon as we hold the other one as true, oh, well, I'm actually really, really significant, then we feel superiority and pride. And this is pride and shame, the two drivers of our lack, really.
Mhm.
And so a wisdom says, well, both are true. And that ability to hold the paradox allows us to stop thinking. So, am I significant or insignificant? Both and neither. In that moment
Mhm.
that you realize that's true, it might feel like a sense of relief. That moment is what I would define as a moment of inspiration and authenticity because your mind is no longer caught up in which
Mm,
one's right and you're freed from the judgment. And when you get beyond the judgment, you come back to life again. So, to answer the question, if you hold on to either perspective at any one time, you're either going to feel inferior or superior.
Mhm.
And I would say the healthiest thing to do is know that both are true. And if you feel yourself feeling too superior, just humble yourself and remembering that actually you don't matter. But if you're
Right.
feeling like you don't matter, noble yourself and remember that you do matter. And when those two things come to be true at the same time, you've just gone up a level in your character. And that problem no longer bothers you anymore because you know that
Right.
both are true.
I love that. And I love that you had said, like, because I think a lot of people do struggle with that, is like, what is my purpose? And to your
yeah.
point, like drives that crisis of, who am I? Like, what do I have to offer? What does this all mean? And so I love that you said that, is just like holding both truths in equal measure is enough to kind of let it go, because they both
Mm,
are equally true, but to be able to use both to your benefit when you need to as well, I think is really great. Okay, that was good, thank you.
really good. So I'm curious. So what was healing looking like for you? What was that journey of going inwards? Like if you take it to like a day in your life back when you were actually like going through it, like what were you feelings, and like, how did you manage it all? Like, how did you get through it? Because I feel like we have so many people going through it right now, like struggling. And it's dark and it's hard and it's scary, and it's, what would you tell them?
And to be more specific, just to add to that, like, what does day one look like? Right? Like, you're in the darkness.
Yes.
What does day one of that healing journey look like, so that people have an understanding of what that can look like for them?
When you say day one, is that the day you realize you need to heal, or is it the day that the floodgates open?
I mean, maybe. I think that maybe that is a part of the healing, right? Is that day one of like realizing, okay, I can't keep going. Because I think a lot of people can look backwards and say, like, that was a definitive moment. But I guess maybe more so like the floodgates. Like, what does, because I think they obviously go hand in hand. So what does the floodgates, like that day, like what has happened there that has made that shift for you?
Yeah. I'll lay this out as best I can, and then if you have other questions, let me know. The one thing I'll say at the start is we cannot avoid our healing. There's the only alternative is to distract ourselves for our entire lives, to pretend and suffer the consequences of health problems, not following our path, being not the best partner we can for our spouse. All of those things come if we don't heal. So at some point, you'll be faced with a choice to either grow, call it healing, call it growth, call it what you will, or just keep pretending. And that's the inauthentic path, and this is the authentic path. Taking off the mask, taking off the layers of armor, and really opening your heart, right? So that's the start. Everybody has different layers to this. So I've done a lot of, you could call it healing work over the years, a lot of shadow work, for maybe let's say 5+ years, until I really hit that existential point of I'm tired with the surface. I want to know who the hell I am, and I want to get to the core of my being so that I can just essentially be me. That is when things got dark. Now, if people are listening, bear with me here. The worst period, so I was probably in and out of depression for a solid 3 years. And that was contemplating suicide, because there were no answers. I didn't have a way out of it. I do now. Fantastic. But the darkest time was about a 3-month period. And during that time, it felt like nothing in my life was going my way. And then, because I was in such a bad state, the universe just kept putting it on me. Have this, have that, because it wanted to break me. It wanted to completely break me, which is what needed to happen for me. Maybe it doesn't for you, but for me it did. And so the worst 3-month period was anxiety every night. And during the day, I would put on a brave face. So I was with my friends. Inside, zero internal stability. It was just anxiety. Who am I? Am I going to survive the day? And then at nighttime, when it was just me and my thoughts, me and my feelings, it was my whole body would it was like I was drunk, you could say. It was just incoherent, intoxicated with anxiety. And I couldn't sleep, obviously. I would eventually fall asleep at some point, and then, not every night, but many nights, I would wake up nightmares. These nightmares of just feeling insignificant, like I didn't matter, like nobody cared about me, no one loved me. I was just a piece of crap. And so I would wake up cold sweats. Then in the mornings, I would get up, and I was not in control of my mind at all. My emotions were running me. And there was one day I remember sitting on the side of my bed, and I said, just think one good thought, John. Just get one good thought, because I couldn't. Like, my financial position was coming down. I felt lonely. I felt that this is the part of the pride and the ego falling apart, was all of my past successes, they'd become meaningless. So I felt like my whole past was irrelevant, you could say. I felt like my present was so painful, and I could not see a pathway forward. So past, present, future, all negativity. And so I sat on the side of my bed, and I was like, just think one positive thought, one positive thought. And I remember that day I did. I thought one positive thought. And in that moment, I felt a little bit better. And I said, okay, just get through today. See if you can just do one day of not worrying about the future, not beating yourself up, just sitting in this space. And I did that day. And in the midst of that day, I, I, I sort of, I felt good again just for that day. And that was one of the days that made me realize that if I could do it for an hour or I could do it for a day, then maybe I could do it for more days. And so the during that 3 month period was a lot of crying. I cried, and it was uncontrollable. It was uncontrollable crying. There was a lot of anger. Anger came first, probably. It did. Anger came first. I would yell into a pillow, and then I would just begin crying. It was just this period of wanting to rip my skin off. There was one day, and I don't know if I do. I write about it in the book. There was one day where I just felt so embarrassed and ashamed of who I'd become. I wanted to physically be sick, and I wanted to just vomit. And that was the day I learned that you cannot get rid of your emotions. They're part of you. They're part of you. It is about understanding them and taking back control of your mind, which is what the whole book is based on. So that was my healing journey, and I had to do it alone because I'd seen people in the past to help me, and I'd had a lot of help from other people. That's why I help people now. But this part I had to do alone. I had to figure out who I was, and it was a dark period. Um, but it was the greatest as well because it gave me access to something truer than what I'd ever known prior.
Wow, that's incredible. Thank you so much for sharing that. My gosh, that's like, you definitely just took us on a journey. I felt that truly,
Yeah, same.
what that was like for you. I can only imagine, but wow, that. I'm so happy that I mean, you're in such a different place, it seems now, and you're speaking from this, this pain that you have, but it's in such a different space now. Have you had a lot of experience when, I guess, like when you're coaching and things like that, where you are frustrated? I'm just thinking about like the self-development world and all the things we read. There's so much of it now, and so much that we hear and take on that we think is, we oftentimes will hear something, we just think, okay, that's how it is, and this is facts, and this must work for everybody. Is there something that you ever hear when dealing with clients that you just like want to shake them? Like, you're like, that this is what's keeping you stuck, but maybe it's something that's in the industry or something that they're really holding on to that they need to feel or need to think like, and you just want to kind of shake them out of it to say, no, this is what's keeping you stuck.
There are definitely times where I want to shake people and be like, this is what's keeping you stuck. But in saying that, I no longer take responsibility for my clients' success. I can just, you can lead a horse to water, you can't make it drink it.
100%.
And that's the beauty of what I do now is way more accountability on the people I'm coaching. Because at the end of the day, this is why. So I'm trained in hypnotherapy, NLP, all of the things. I can create transformation in you, but that's not empowering you. In a way, it's disempowering you because I'm doing it to you. And so everybody needs a helping hand from time to time. So that still comes in. But for someone who's more advanced, I need to teach you how to do it for yourself. Otherwise, you're just going to rely and become dependent on me. And I believe that one of the most important things any of us can master is our own psychology. Because once we have that dialed in, we at least have control over the one thing that dictates how we feel, how we act, and what we get to achieve or experience in our lives. When you asked that question, Paula, was there anything specifically in mind that you had where you're like, oh, I just don't know if this is right or true, or this is being told, but is it a fact or is it not real?
Well, no, but you bring up a really good point. No, I didn't have anything in mind, but when you mentioned going through your journey, you knew you had to do it alone, right? Like like you said, you had helping hands and you had people that had, I'm sure, like supported you and things like that, but you knew that you needed to get to the bottom of this. And I often think that, and like Renee and I, we have our membership, we do coaching regularly with our clients, and we are doing the same thing where we really are trying to empower them to think for themselves and to really get to their own truth, right? But what I've seen before, and I was wondering if you've seen it, is just like, I think a lot of people will they want you to almost be, the puppet master, so that they don't have to really get to that truth, right? That you can be like, okay, yes, I'm doing the things I need to do. I'm talking to somebody, or I'm getting coached, and I'm doing what I should be doing, but I'm going to give the reins over to them so that I don't really have to do like that nitty gritty work. And I'm just going to take what they say and then move on and check. So I was just wondering if that was, I think I know that there's a lot of people that do that. And so that they can be rest assured a little bit like, okay, I'm doing the work, but it's not really that like soul searching, really hard grunt work that you've explained.
Yeah, there are definitely layers to it, and some people are still on the surface, and that's fine, because you have to start somewhere. If we look back in our
Yes.
own journeys, we'll probably see the same thing, where we were doing it, and to us, we were giving it everything. But to someone who's
Yeah.
a bit gone through a bit more, you look back and it's like, you haven't even started yet. So
Right.
I'm sure there are people that look at me and go, "You haven't even started yet, buddy."
Yeah.
So I would frame it that way, and hold people where they are. And not the other thing, and I learned this when I was coaching, or not coaching but training the guys in the special forces. I would take the selection process for the fitness testing, and I saw all of these candidates come in, and as I looked at each candidate, I thought, every single one of you has it within you to pass this selection process, but also knowing only about 5% would. And I always thought, who's it going to be? Who are the ones that are going to go the distance, and who are the ones that won't? And now I see that exact same thing in coaching still. For some people, the work will be too intimidating, too hard. It will just, it's not for them. And I used to try and think, what's wrong? Are these people crazy? It's just their journey, their path. And if they turn away from it, not ready for it, let them. The ones who go deep, that's where greatness lies. It lies in that destruction of everything you knew, so that you can't have growth and birth without death. And so for those that are willing to do the death, you get to also have the birth. um and they're the leaders of our world, you could say. I don't want to say politically the leaders of our world, but they're the leaders that have the true courage and the true heart.
Yeah. And
Holding the light.
yeah, and timing is everything too, right? Like, just because somebody's not willing to do it today doesn't mean that in a year from now, that's, they could be in a completely different place for sure.
Mm. Oh my gosh, this is so good. So your book, where, when, give us all the details because I need it.
Are we live now, or when's this coming out?
It's coming out Monday. So
Okay,
Monday will be the 23rd?
26.
cool.
26th.
Yeah.
26th. Mm-hmm.
All right. So we're aiming for mid to late February for the official launch date. I believe it's the 16th or the 23rd. They're both Mondays. So that's what we're aiming for at this stage. I'm pretty sure we're going to hit it.
Yeah.
Can
So
we
yeah, stay tuned for
pre-order?
that.
Can we
Yeah.
pre-order?
I'll have to look on Amazon. I think we can.
Okay.
I'll get back to you girls on that
Okay.
one.
Okay, get back to me. Are you still doing one-on-one coaching as well? I think you said yes, yeah?
Yeah, I stopped for that time to
Mhm.
research, and I've
Mhm.
just started again. I'm working with two people at the moment, but yes,
Okay.
that's pretty much what this next phase is about. Get the book out
Mhm.
and get back into doing what I do best.
Mhm. Oh my gosh. I feel like I have more questions. Paula, do you have anything else?
I can always ask more. I have a lot of questions, so
Well,
I could be here for hours.
you ask one more, I'll ask one more, and then we'll
Okay,
wrap it
then we'll
up.
wrap it up. Okay, let me pick. So, okay, so looking at your entire journey, if you could go back and tell yourself something when you were in the depths of that darkness, if you could just tell yourself one thing, what would it be?
I can't really think of anything clever to say, and it's pretty cliche, but I think everyone knows what the answer is. Is just keep going.
Keep going.
Just keep going, because there's a verse in the Bible, which is, I think it's in the Bible, which is, this too shall pass.
Mhm.
And it doesn't, that is a truth that you cannot escape. And it happens in every context of life, which is, to every problem, there is a solution. To every action or experience, there is a season. And so at the end of the day, time heals. And so just keep going, hang in there. One of the traits I talk about in the book, um, is resilience. And that is how you get through grief, depression. It is through resilience. So that's what I would say to me in that state. And you know what? I think that, and I believe that science will prove this soon, that time is an illusion. I think we know that pretty much already. But quantum physics is suggesting that we can communicate beyond time. And maybe that's what our intuition is. Maybe our intuition is our future self talking to us. Maybe, I don't know. Or it's our higher self or higher mind, which is free from time, communicating with us, because it encompasses the past and the future. And there were times where I was really in the depths of it, and there was just something inside of me that said, keep going. It said, this is actually your path. You need to go through this. So just endure, just endure. So, hey, maybe there's an esoteric principle to that as well.
I love that. I love that concept. I think that's so interesting. And the idea that maybe our intuition is our future self talking to us, I'm going to hang on to that one. I think that's a good one.
Yeah, that's so good.
I love it.
So my question would be, why do you think that healing feels so lonely? And so you said that your own journey, you knew that you had to do it alone. But if I take myself, for example, and many of my clients, even if they talk to a coach, or even if they have a best friend that they can vent to and share everything that they're going through, I remember it for myself, that emptiness, that void in your heart, and that feeling of being like the only human being on planet Earth, like it's so debilitating, that feeling. Why do you think that is, that it feels so lonely even if you're surrounded by so many people?
Because nothing can fill the void of our separation to our source. Nothing. No body, no drugs, no food, no alcohol, nothing. And really, authenticity is connection to our soul, our spirit, divinity, God, call it what you want to call it. That missing connection is what is the source of all suffering, all pain. And we find ways of making up for it with food, sex, business, even like success. But in order to be authentic is to reconnect with that part of ourselves. And now it's not a full connection, like, okay, it's you and me, God, we got this thing. It's the way I see it is our higher self or higher mind is almost like a filter, and our source is light. All religions, even science, we will get to the point where we realize that source is light. That's why back in the day they used to worship the sun, because they believed that that was the emanation of the soul. And so our higher mind is like a filter, and that filter lets some light through and blocks out others. The wiser we become, and we talked about this by synthesizing the paradoxes, the less our higher mind filters the light. So the more paradoxes we hold as true, which is love and appreciation, the less our higher mind blocks the sun's, call it the sun's, the soul, the spirit, the source. And so our journey in life is to get as close to that source as we can, because that's when we're inspired. That's when we're our most fulfilled. So that feeling of loneliness, Renee, that we all experience, it is the lack of that connection. And it's teaching us a lesson that we need to reconnect with the source. Otherwise, we're just going to keep repeating cycles and patterns. And so we have to go through that period of um, isolation. The word solitude, right? Solitude, sol means sun. And again, going back to the old religious and esoteric teachings, is the sun, the soul, our soul. So solitude is the attitude of the soul, which is that feeling when we're reconnected with ourself, authenticity, love, truth, oneness. And so we have to experience the contrast. Otherwise, we'd never crave the source. So I do believe that we have to do it alone. That doesn't mean we can't be guided. I guide people through this. That's what I do. But I can't do it for them. And that's the difference. And when someone's doubled over in pain and not wanting to continue, I'll just sort of say, hey, you got two choices. You go back to your old life where you were unfulfilled and cycles were repeating, or you keep going. You can choose. I'm just here to guide you.
That is so true. Because if I think back of that period for me, I was like so disconnected, and I was really trying to find the answers outside of myself, whether it was through like going to party, talking to so many people, like hiring different coaches. And like at the end of the day, I was like, it's not working, because I'm just basically avoiding asking myself the real questions. I'm avoiding looking at myself in the mirror and being like, what's going on? Like, what's happening? And it was really lonely, but it's only then that I was able to like reconnect with myself and start feeling some sort of like wholeness again in my heart. Yeah, so good. So good. Oh my gosh. So where's the best place to find you? Is it on Instagram?
I would say Instagram. Yeah,
Yeah.
Instagram, Facebook. The handle is at John Templeton Official. And so you can get me there at, I think, TikTok as well. I'm just starting again on all these platforms. So just
Okay.
look up John Templeton Official. Whatever pops up, that's where I am.
Awesome.
Amazing.
I'll be adding everything in the show notes to our audience. You should absolutely go give him a follow. Make sure that you buy the book. Paula and I will let our audience know when it's out. I'll be purchasing a copy for sure. I can't wait. I'm so excited. And it's truly, I really do consider you a friend. You're on the other side of the world, but I'm so grateful to have someone like you in my life, and such a great teacher that impacted me. So thank you so much again for being here, for just being this person that does the work that needs to get done so we can get better and feel better. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much. And please, like, come back. We would love to. There's so many questions. I have a whole list of questions that I did not even touch that I would love to get to at some point. So please join us again. It's been a pleasure to get to know you a bit more. And you are so insightful. And yeah, I feel like we only touched the surface. So we would love to have you back at some point.
Girls, thank you. Thanks so much.
I have an idea. I think if you're on board, I think that we wait until the book is launched, and maybe we do this again, maybe like in March or April or something, and we can talk about the book more, and we can go over some of our remaining questions.
Yeah, after we've read it.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Good plan.
Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Make sure to subscribe, to like, to share, to follow, and we'll be talking to you soon. Bye, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you.